Well, good morning. Welcome to lesson 5. This is the next to the last unit for this course, so the pedal's really hitting the metal right now, right? Notice I am organized. I have some notes, both sides of my note card. So this is the unit in which you're going to decide the approach you're going to take to your speech. There are generally 2 approaches. I'm sure there's more, but there's 2. You can decide if you want to do an informational speech, which is where you give a lot of information, a lot of good detail, and then you let the listener make up their own mind about, if they need to take a side or if they need to take further action on this. But they get to make up their own mind. Or you can give a persuasive speech. I've looked through the topics for the class, and some lend themselves really well to informational speeches, and some lend themselves really well to persuasive speeches. Persuasive speech is basically where you're convincing an audience of a point of view. You're trying to convince them to your point of view. I want to point out that in order to do that, you must address opposing points of view. Okay, this is a 4 to 6 minute speech. You've got a lot to cover. So with a persuasive speech, you need to think, well, maybe my audience is skeptical. They don't really agree with me right now. So how do I address their concerns? You can't just hammer your point of view, okay? They have concerns too that they think are legitimate. You have to address those. That's a little difficult, okay, with persuasive speeches. Very often you choose a persuasive topic because you feel so strongly about it. You want to convince people of your point of view. Well, there are other points of view, so you have to address them and consider that they are worthwhile points of view. You just simply have to show why they're not as worthwhile as your point of view. It's kind of tricky. This is why you can't stack the deck with the research. All right, you have to, be honest about this. And this is why also in the learning module for this lesson, you'll see that I have a section on logical fallacies. And very often in persuasive speeches, you fall into the trap of logical fallacies. You set up straw man like the liberal media, or the liberal evening news, they hate guns, whatever. And this is not the case, okay? There's no more liberal media than there is conservative media these days, and the media does not hate guns, all right? I don't hate guns, I own guns, okay? That kind of thing. So, come on, I'm an Army veteran, right? So you have to address these issues, and you have to do that by avoiding logical fallacies. You can't equate apples and oranges, right? You can't start off with a set of false issues. Like you can't attack Barack Obama's policies on something by saying he's an Arab. He's not, all right? So you can't do that, all right? You can believe that he is, but he's not, right? So you can't make a persuasive speech arguing against his efforts on gun control by starting off with the premise that he's an Arab, because he's not. You can't do that. All right. So this is where we get into logical fallacies. So don't fall into that. But basically, what I'm saying, the goal this week is to decide: are you going to go with information, right, or are you going to go with persuasion? Either is fine. All right. Persuasion is more difficult. That said, I'd like for you to be thinking about planning ahead. The last unit's very complex. It's where everything happens at once. All right, you'll be turning in your PowerPoint. Remember I said all along that you're going to be using visual aids. These are kind of like your visual note cards. A good PowerPoint helps you stay organized, and it helps your audience follow where you're going. So if you're not very familiar with PowerPoint, please look ahead to the Learning 6 learning module, and I've put in there a really excellent set of tutorials, or an excellent tutorial, singular, that'll walk you through your first PowerPoint. Do a very nice job of it, and I put some other help files. So this is a good week. It's a short unit. It's a good week to be looking ahead to the last unit, making sure you're well prepared, that you know what's coming at you, that you're able to do your PowerPoint. It wouldn't hurt you to be working on your PowerPoint. Okay, as usual, I've been recording your quizzes, right? I've been back into the discussions. Please go back to the last unit's discussions last week and look at some of the comments I made on the articles that you've been using for your research. I have made comments there. So, as usual, you know how to get a hold of me. I do read my email all the time except for on the weekends. Thank you.